In the first lesson, we covered 4 points concerning public ethics: the world of norms, the relationship between morals and ethics, the concept of normative systems, and different connotations of legal systems. In this lesson, we will deal with 4 more issues: the limitations of the normative systems, norms and politics, different moments in the political life of nations, and the ethical criteria for political leaders. Legal and moral systems cannot possibly anticipate every situation that will occur in reality, much as a map could not possibly depict every corner of the real world. The limitations of normative systems relate to their extension and to their precision. As to extension, normative systems do not stretch as much as to encompass on one end situations of extreme scarcity. On the other end, they could not cover either, to use the language of Michael Walzer, supreme emergencies. A classical example of extreme scarcity is that of the lifeboat, which cannot sustain all shipwrecked people. If all other things are equal, no legal or moral rule can prescribe who is to live and who is to die. A supreme emergency signifies a serious threat to life or to civilization as we conceive of it. It is a threat even greater than a war. Concerning precision, reality may be compared to a sliding plane. That is, it is possible to measure the tiniest variations within it. Normative systems, instead, are like a staircase in that every change implies a step up or down. More detailed rules make for smaller steps, but they are still steps. That is why it is usually unwise to weaken a rule on a critical matter, for regardless of how finely crafted the change might be, it would open a gap that will likely lead to unanticipated bad consequences. The political sphere has some particularities, just like the spheres of family, business, or the school. As we stated in the previous lesson, while CUSP or top legal or moral norms may be applicable to all spheres of reality, at a more specific level, norms must take into account the characteristics of the respective sphere. Among the main characteristics of the world of politics, perhaps the most salient are the following. A. It is the realm of the monopoly of force. B. To achieve a position of power and maintain it, political leaders require the support of the people as well as that of trusted aides and a political apparatus, that is, a political party or otherwise. This was already noted by the renowned scholar Max Weber early in the 20th century. Norms that apply to the field of politics are not weaker or non-existing as many may think, but just suited to the specific traits of that field. We have stated that the realm of politics has specific characteristics which call for specific moral and legal norms. Not only that, the political life of nations may go through 4 distinctive times or periods, each of which demands its own special norms. This is the period of the birth of a nation, which may be more concentrated as when a nation gains independence from a colonial power, or more extended. It is a time in part historical, in part mythical. The basic principles that would govern the new state are usually cast in a constitution. We refer here to the day-to-day functioning of a constituted political system. Normally, in the life of nations there is much tension and conflict, yet the system usually is able to endure them without breaking down, like a ship which may be shaken by a storm but it does not sink. Typically, the main ethical issues a country faces at such times, indeed at all times, are A. The protection and fulfillment of human rights. B. Security and the enforcement of the law. C. Transparency, accountability of the public authorities and the fight against corruption. D. The design and implementation of social policies aimed at achieving a state of equal opportunity for all. The applicable norms are those of human rights, the rule of law, and public transparency and accountability. Occasionally, countries go through a major crisis, international or internal warfare, dictatorial rule, etc., which may bring about the demise of the established political order. The applicable norms for such times are, in addition to the norms of human rights, those of emergency rule and the international laws of armed conflict. In the last 30 years or so, dozens of countries around the world have faced the challenge of building or reconstructing a just, viable political system following a period of dictatorship or civil strife, which left a legacy of human rights violation, war crimes, or both. This has given rise to a still novel field of theory and practice, which is known as transitional justice. We will deal with transitional justice later on in this course. In 1918, at the University of Munich, Max Weber pronounced his famous conference, Politics as a Vocation. In it, he stated that a politician may be guided by the ethics of responsibility or instead by the ethics of conviction or of ultimate ends. If the leader follows the maxim of an ethics of responsibility, he or she will take into account the probabilities of real life when deciding a course of action. Chief among such probabilities of real life are the likely reactions of the people, that is, of human beings, with all their potentialities and weaknesses. If the leader fails, he or she will take responsibility for the results. On the contrary, if the politician who is guided by the ethics of conviction or of ultimate ends fails, he or she would blame fate or the blindness of the people for not seeing the light. Max Weber, of course, favors the ethics of responsibility. He values the heroism of daily persistent work over incensed leadership. Please visit mookchile.com and watch the next lesson of this course.